Hello everybody, and welcome to the recap of my Midnight Dawn of Darkness campaign here on this YouTube channel. This recap is going to be an all-inclusive recap of everything that has happened in sessions 16 through 20, from where our prior recap ended, which will be linked below, all the way up to the current point of the campaign, which includes the resolution of Marissa's story so far, developments in the Thrundi village, and delves into the Forest of the Redwoods, and what our group has found up until this point. So sit back, strap in, and as always grab your popcorn, as I retell the story so far. Subscribe and join the Discord for more! Firstly, I know some of you may not know what MDOT is exactly, because you either only recently discovered the series or skipped over our last recap video, or just might need a refresher. DoD is a D100 roll highest tabletop strategy RPG, which aims to take inspiration from Fire Emblem and other tabletops to make a highly strategic focused combat system, as well as an intuitive role-playing system, which lets players explore the life of their character and shape their personality through their adventures. The campaign of which I am recapping is one of these stories, and I intend to go in depth over the important characters, secrets found by the players, hints at what's to come, and most importantly, the story, of which had some major developments during this segment, surprisingly. Session 16 through Session 17's beginning. Session 16 starts off with our group, consisting of Iliad, played by Deadmoth, Marak, played by Undefined Toaster, Lillian, played by Tem, and Urkole, played by Patches, and finally, Mr. Amnesia Goat Boy himself, as they finish their return from the new segment of the plains they found at the end of the prior session. This is a relatively quick side path that occurs, resulting in the group quickly learning some new info about the plains before they return to the village. During this time, Goat Boy and Lillian start to hear the voice of Marissa, calling to them to head towards the Clock Tower's church, where, upon entry, they notice that the statue that was once representative of her, the bronze Thrundi with a sword, has turned silver and is now holding a golden scroll, with the sword having entirely disappeared. Touching the statue, Marissa's voice disappeared, and the golden scroll gently drifted towards the group, to be picked up by Lillian. This scroll read, "Time ticks forward, and solemn do we feel. Our hearts break open, our fates concealed. Revealed in threes we try to feel. Deary spoke to he who guides, a wolf of shadow with kingly mind. Noonal spoke of timeline's break, to a cat whose mind had reached its brink. And Theron judged a world far gone, and spoke to a goat who led the song. Speaking on words hidden in winds, the three met at depths within. A traitorous cry was heard that night, but none would truly know the plight." This seems to be the start of a poem of sorts. This poem has yet to be further looked into. However, the group collectively agrees that each of the mentioned animals, that being the wolf, cat, and goat, are references to the three beings that are believed to make up Amnesia Boy. The three characters of Theron, Noonal, and Deary are mentioned again in the script, which still have not been properly determined as to who they are, by the way. There's still plenty to discuss when it comes to this poem, and the context of the whole Clock Tower Church, and furthermore, the village as a whole. They then spend the rest of the session crafting and improving their armor and weaponry. Session 17's beginning is honestly one of the most helpful parts of the story to legitimately watch, as during this they learn a lot of new and important info that was both slightly skipped over and not noticed until now. During this half of the session, they spend a large majority of time talking to the locals, determining a lot of locations in the large cave we find ourselves in, and the almost religious holdings a lot of these areas hold, such as how the Abyssal Lake is practically restricted due to its ominous and depressing air, and a cave entry deep in the Dark Chasm is 100% banned from entry due to the Elders and the village Arcanists' requirements of respect for the old structures further down. They learn a majority of this from the Explorers Guild, who have all been crowded back into the town after recent transpirings, and blighted creatures have ransacked and destroyed the old outposts that were in each of the biomes and locales here in the depths. They also learn here of the burrowed mines, and a crystalline giant that seems to roam the mines, destroying all in its way, and how there once was a trade deal with the Shroomlings, creatures living within the forests of the Redwoods, and how the Shroomlings have recently become more hostile over the past few years, cutting off all access to some rare mushrooms and materials. They use this info as guidance for what they'd like to work towards, that being the Shroomling village in the Redwood Forest, and, hopefully, reinstating the trade deals and determining what actually happened to them, and why they seem so upset. Session 17 end through Session 19. They then head back to the entry of the Redwood Forest they had found after fighting Marissa, and in turn, finally head in to the large forest, with a canopy of trees overhanging, filling the cave with a lush and fresh atmosphere, unlike even the bramble well or the plains of the cave above. The group starts by wandering pretty aimlessly, to be honest, forming a very squiggly line until they find a page, which seems to actually be the map of the area. They then, surprisingly, ignore this and continue randomly gallivanting around this half of the forest, finding a river's edge and a crossing, ignoring it for fear of the Spore Puff here blocking the path and its small army of little spider-like creatures. They decide to follow the river down and deeper into the forest. Here, a wondrous little gremlin that we all love and adore steals a million items, collectively across the many of them that exist, including Bad Apple's tie, of which he has been missing since this incident. Within the next few sessions, they find a bridge, which seems to be an entry into the Shroomling village, but due to a fear of the seemingly trapped entry, a lever, they decide they would like to find an alternate entry into the village, or further search and explore the forest for some more materials, and in case there were any secrets that they had missed. They additionally find another page detailing the spear they had noted in the village, and another goat person, this time with long hair. They had found a statue of him with the Shroomlings earlier, but had no idea what it could have meant. Finally, they find a greater redwood, and make a few theories about the tree, such as how they know of a great tower somewhere in the depths, which may be made from one of them growing into the plains, actually, and how a forest on the surface may actually just be the branches of the skyscraper tree peeking through to the above ground. Amongst the wanderings, they also find some scrawled-in drawings nossled in to the trees, and a marker for something of importance on each of them, which they intend to look into in future sessions. They end these few sessions feeling retrospective about all they have found so far, and make a plan for where they would like to go next, that being across the Spore Puff Spider Bridge, and hopefully not dying as they do so. Session 20. Prior to Session 20, Toaster basically showed me he was going to start trying to track some important locations and more analytically and methodically move throughout the map. This is important as it allows the group to collectively move much more deterministically, where prior they had just been moving in the way that felt most interesting to them. Following the map they received a few sessions ago, they use it to head to a few locations they haven't been in yet. The group first starts by seeing a majority of the northern wall of the cave, bar some of the roots of the greater redwood, and finding a golden golem. Remembering how other golems have been, they decide this enemy is probably way too strong and beefy for the group to handle right now, and they decide to head the other way. They, however, note the golem seems to be guarding an entry to what they believe to be the Dark Chasm, and do wish to return here at some point in the future. They then head back towards the Spore Puff Spider Bridge, and in the process of trying to kill the creatures, Iliad falls in and floats down the river, getting caught by a root of a redwood. She then clambers out, still confused and lost because of the spore puff, and nearly falls back in the river. She tries to head back up the river, whimpering and sad the whole time. Meanwhile, the group starts working their way down towards her, killing a few other creatures on the way. Prior to ending the session, they meet up, find one of the locations the tree maps mentioned earlier, and furthermore find a third map and a few other small treasures around the place. They also find an entry to a crystalline cavern to the southern side of the forest, and make a note that they will probably head here next after clearing out the rest of the area. And that is where the story ends for now. However, we still have something important left over to cover. Post-Session 20. After the session, Tem spent time looking over the pages that have been left over since their retrieval, and decoded the page's Morse and record player words placed on each of the pages. Here is what's been decoded on each of these. Additionally, here is a layered view of all the maps so far, as assembled by patches. This also works as a good way to show where all the players have been so far. With that, I have to actually say, thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed this, you will enjoy actually watching the full sessions and all that is within them. So please, if you did enjoy, go take the time and watch the episodes as they are currently, or come join for the next one, and join the Discord as the team delves further into the depths. You can become a huge part of solving the campaign as you all learn more about it, as a lot of this video wouldn't have occurred without the interactions you have all made with this story. Again, thank you all so much, have a good one, bye-bye!